All right, we are now live. So welcome to session 3 of the Clarity DAO pitch competition. And to get this one going, what we're going to do is have all of the panelists just go in this order and introduce themselves. So we have Zeb, Chris, Mateen is not here today. Justin will be filling in for him, Charlie, and Colin. So start with Zeb. If you could just quickly introduce yourself, we will go from there.
Yeah, hi everyone. Zeb Hastings. I am a project and data manager for SeedStars. SeedStars is a Swiss-based company focused on developing entrepreneurship in emerging markets through technology. So we run an investment platform, but also we run entrepreneurship education platforms like accelerators and other various programs. We've been working very closely with the Cardano group for, I guess, 9 months now. We have 2 projects that were funded in Project Catalyst Fund 7, which I've been responsible for. And then also we just had a project funded in Fund 9, which I'm also responsible for. So happy to be here and looking forward to hearing what you all are pitching.
Cool. Hey, everybody. Chris Borders. I'm a lawyer for a lot of different projects in the Cardano space. Sunday Swap and Mateen being another one of them, and Indigo and Liquid, as well as Clarity. I got my start in blockchain with Chainlink back in 2017, helped form that entity, and working on the Oracle Challenge. And I've been full-time on working on blockchain projects for the last couple of years, just trying to help build the ecosystem. I've represented a lot of startups, a lot of tech companies, helped a lot of entrepreneurs and engineers, get their idea kind of formulated and operating in the Web 2 world, and so having a lot of fun helping that help move everybody to Web 3 as well.
Awesome. I think I'm up next.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, sorry, you can go.
Oh, am I coming through here? My internet's like cutting out.
You're coming through. Your Mateen's fill in. So go ahead, Justin.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Justin, one of the co-founders of Clarity. I studied computer science and focus most of my time right now on the user experience, user interfaces of the Clarity application that we're building out. So I'm very interested in making these kind of complex systems that we're building extremely user-friendly and able to be used by everyday people.
Awesome. What's up, everyone? My name is Charlie, former teammate of Logan's at Stanford. So that's where we first connect, and we connected, or we're really good friends based off our entrepreneurial bug. So it's been epic kind of seeing you progress, Logan, here. As well as, so for me, I'm the co-founder of the Orca Network, which is basically a university-specific innovation network for college students to connect with others based on ideas, skill sets, form teams, and then we provide them the tools, resources to accelerate their ideas. So right now, we're just launched at Stanford. We're actually hosting a similar competition to Logan here, hosting like a live Shark Tank thing. But our mission is basically to inspire and empower more college students to pursue their skill sets to solve real-world problems. So it's a little bit about me. I'm really looking forward to hearing the pitches today.
Hey, it's Colin from Obsidian Systems. Obsidian is a Haskell consultancy, mostly Nix, some Rust as well. I've been there since it started in 2014, managing mostly Haskell projects, some in traditional software, some in crypto, last few years in Cardano. I was the Plutus project manager at IOG last year, and we had some engineers there as well, just staff aug. And so I'm head of Cardano operations at Obsidian. We do a variety of things. And I'm head of product for Load Wallet, LODE, which is a new ultra light wallet constructed entirely in Haskell.
Awesome. Well, thank you, panelists. Really thankful to have all your guys' perspectives on board. And without further ado, Charity DAO. Robert, you are up. go ahead and share screen. Your 5 minutes will start once you start.
Okay, how's everyone doing today? Pretty good, I hope. All right, so charity DAO. This is an idea we came up with, a while back. We've been really excited about the Cardano ecosystem because it's, really based on decentralization and pushing power to the edges, which is kind of what our DAO is all about. We want to spread decentralization, to nonprofit organizations, as well as use crypto donations to try to do outreach and help the world to be a better place. So why a charity DAO? Obviously, nonprofit organizations, we hear stories all the time about, for example, the Clinton Foundation, gives like maybe 10% of all the money they receive, and the rest is pocketed by wealthy people. We want to push more transparency into nonprofits and really the rest of the world as well. But to do so, blockchain is the key to that. I mean, all transactions can be tracked. You can know who's doing what, who's spending what. Any kind of records of really can just be public. It's just a great tool for transparency and efficiency. Things like DAOs, for example, would be very helpful for nonprofit organizations. They want to have a way for everyone to communicate worldwide, really take part in what's going on, and and there's many other apps, like supply chain, stuff like that. A lot of things that can really help with transparency, with efficiency, with nonprofit organizations, help them do a better job at what they're trying to do, and hopefully end any corruption in the midst of that. Things like the ease when we send money through blockchain technology, it gets there almost immediately. You know exactly where it came from. You can convert it almost instantaneously. It's just a great tool. And this is stuff we all know, and that's why we're in this whole ecosystem. So we also want it to be kind of like a pathway to crypto donations. Say someone wants to donate some money, they can approach us, say, hey, we really like this charity, we would like to give some money. We can facilitate that kind of thing. And in the process, once we make contact with the charity, we can make sure that they're onboarded to crypto. If they don't have access to some of the features, they can't really receive the funds, we can help them get the tools to do that. And the DAO itself also, through our own donations, we'll be given things, and people in the community that are part of the DAO decide what donations are given to whom, maybe what projects we start up. We want it to be as decentralized as possible. So how are we going to help? Like I said, we're going to be pairing emerging projects on Cardano with nonprofit organizations. We want to expand the use of DAOs, digital IDs, everything that blockchain has to offer. We want to spread that to the world, especially through nonprofits. If we can make it work for them, that people are going to see that, institutions are going to see that, and hopefully adopt it as well. So we can transparently facilitate the transfer of donations from one entity to another. The holders will get a say in how the treasury is used. Any funds that we accrue, it's not going to be me or the people on the core team that decide things. We're going to put it to the community and have them decide, well, where do you want this to go? Should we advertise? Should we do this or that? So that's going to be kind of how it works. So implementation. So how we personally plan to fund our own donations is through our coin. It's the CCCC token. It has tokenomics built into it to every time it's bought or sold, a small percentage of that is taken aside and we're used to either provide liquidity for the coin. I think 2% goes to liquidity for the token on whatever DEX it's using. 2% goes to donations. 2% is reflected back to the holder. And 2% is put in the treasury. And those fees are hopefully going to be able to fund lots of donations. And you know how the DAOs work. The people who own the coin get a say so. And of course, we're going to be doing the outreach and setting up tools and resources for charities to do what they do. The future is what we want to see is if things go well and we get enough capital, we would like to start like some high yield investment packages, maybe NFT bonds or something where people in the DAO can all invest, pull the money together. And, you know, it's designed to kind of be a long-term investment with our token to be always gaining value. So in long-term scenarios, it's like a high yield savings account. And of course, any donations that we do, you can get tax write-offs. We're going to try to set ourselves up as a nonprofit and help organize that for our users. As more organizations warm to the benefits of blockchain technology, we're hoping that everything from governments to corporations begin adoption. The end goal is to end all the bureaucratic corruption, create a transparent and balanced system for the world to release mankind's full potential. And that is basically our pitch. We do have some information on our white paper, explains the tokenomics a little better. The burn mechanics, for example, for every 10% of the supply that goes that is sold or that is burned, we burn. Well, hang on, I'm not explaining it very well, but basically, we match whatever the transaction volume is in a given time. Once the supply drops 10%, then instead of doing 100%, we'll do 90%. Once it drops another 10% for the overall supply, we'll do 80, and so forth and so on, to try to keep like a good steady dynamic of keeping the supply going low and the value going up.
Awesome.
But
Richard, so we're over time here. I want to make
yes,
sure you get
go ahead.
answering
Yeah,
questions. I hope that you didn't have a screen you were sharing while you were talking, because it wasn't showing up for us.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oops.
It's okay.
Oh, there it goes. My bad, guys. Well, while you guys are talking, I can just let this kind of play through.
Okay. I'm still not seeing it on mine. Are other people seeing it?
No, I'm not.
You're still not seeing it?
Here, I'll you send it to me, so I'll have it play while the panelists ask questions.
All right. Cool.
Give me 1 sec. But yeah, panelists, go ahead if you have any questions for Richard and Charity DAO. Feel free.
Well,
Richard, I was just go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, Justin. I wanted to know a little bit more about the tokenomics, right? I mean, a lot of charity fundraising takes the assets that the giver wants to give. And so how would they efficiently convert whatever they want to give into your token, and why would that be the most efficient way to go, is other than you accepting whatever digital asset they want to donate?
Well, as far as the digital assets, if some other entity wants to do a donation to, you know, a charity or something, one of the things we hope to offer is like, not only will we facilitate the transfer of whatever tokens they want, we'll also try to, you know, advertise, try to promote that charity and get others to donate as well. And if the community decides to, you know, we can also take money from our treasury to add to that. And again, it's not just about giving the money. When we transfer that value, we're also bringing, like, on-ramping them into crypto. If they don't have the tools already to receive that, we're gonna make sure they have it, no matter what currency it is. We're gonna make sure they can move that to wherever they need it to go, and use other tools to basically do a better job at what they're doing.
Okay.
And as far as the tokenomics, I know you asked about that. Upon transaction, 2% is converted into ADA or a stable coin and locked in liquidity pool for 2 years, and no one can touch it. We can't pull it out and use it for anything else. After that 2-year period, those funds go to the treasury, and, you know, the community decides what to do with it. Another 2% goes straight to the treasury, and that can cover, you know, development costs or more charity donations, just whatever the community decides. 2% is specifically for donations, and the last 2% is, like I said, reflected back to the holders. And that paired with the burn tokenomics, hopefully will draw enough people in. You know how degens love stuff like that. So hopefully it will pump enough to where we can give substantial amounts to charities.
We'll go to Justin and Zeb.
Yeah, I was just wondering who your target charity is right now, and if you expect that to change at all in the future. So is it somebody who's already looking to operate on the blockchain and getting started, or is it an existing kind of real world charity that's out there, collecting donations and doing stuff already, but just doing it using kind of fiat ramps?
Right. Well, we want to get our hands into everything. I personally have a few on a list that I would like to get involved with. But again, we're not really live right now. We're kind of beta, still building. But once we go, it really is going to be up to the community. I will try to, get some ideas about. I would rather give to charities that maybe use blockchain to fix things. Like we had that tree planting thing on Cardano. We planted like 1 million trees in a very short amount of time, and it was very effective. And if we can find things like that that are getting started and help them through donations, that would be great. But even, domestic violence victims, charity for cancer victims, or really anything, we're willing to try to help and give to.
Zeb, go ahead.
I kind of have two questions. The first is on the problem itself and the market need, and the second is around the implementation. So, okay, trying to get rid of corruption in charities, and you used the Clinton Foundation example of only, 10% of the money that's donated is actually used like purposefully. Is your basic premise then that the reason why there is a lack of transparency within these organizations, or a lack of efficient processing of this money from donors to the actual end result that they want to achieve, is your premise that it's the lack of having a technology or a DAO that is the reason why that they are unable to do this, or is it something else?
My premise is the lack of technology to hold them accountable is the reason they can get away with it. Just like with, a lot of people think that the voting system is rigged, and a lot of people think that's malarkey. But either way, why not make it more secure? Why not make it more transparent? The only reason people can speculate whether, shady things are going on is because there isn't enough transparency to be definitive. And if we can provide that and make it a standard, there's no room left for corruption to hide.
Yeah, I think, and this leads to my second question around the implementation, which is around the incentivizing piece. So then who migrates first? Is it that you open this up to the donors to incentivize them to come first, so then the charities have to migrate to where the donors are? Or is it the charities that have to go first to this platform so the donors can then follow them?
My vision kind of is more like, say, a charity's doing its thing, and there's people out there in the crypto industry, lots of money. There's going to be lots of transactional volume. Why not use that? As a charity, they're going to want to get stuff no matter where they can get it, right? They're going to want funding. If we can open up a new avenue of income through cryptocurrencies and through projects like this, I'm sure they're going to be really happy to get whatever help they can. Plus, if we can give them a real world solution, say they're having problems sending water to some country because, someone in the supply chain is messing something up with, the technology on blockchain, like supply chain with what was it, Cardano, and I forgot the name of the company, with wine bottles and stuff. We can use something similar like that and make it where they don't lose as much money through flaws in the system. It's just more efficient. or at least has that potential. If we can make it better, why not?
I think you're likely going to want to try and capture the donors first because they're the ones that have the money. So if you can incentivize them, like you mentioned, tax returns, things like that, but also through your tokenomics, whether it be a staking pool or some of the other things you mentioned, if you can get the donors first, and the charities are going to be forced to follow because that's where the money's going. So,
yeah, good point.
I think it's a cool idea. I think it's definitely necessary in terms of. I agree. Like I get so freaking mad about charities and the lack of transparency, but I'm just wondering about how do you get implemented through the incentives, right? Because I'm not sure necessarily if it is the technology that's stopping them from being transparent. I just don't think they have the incentives to be transparent. So,
right.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Charity DAO. It's a really exciting project and can't wait to see how it moves forward, and super stoked to have you in the ecosystem and part of the community. Up next, we will go to Daniel and Matera DAO. I'm excited to hear your pitch, man.
Thank you very much, Logan. Can you guys see there? I won't go into full screen because sometimes it freezes, but yeah, let's get started. So I'm Daniel. I'm from Mexico City, and I'm co-founder of Metera. Metera is a DeFi platform that is looking to provide a tokenized index portfolios platform, a platform where users can create and also invest in these ETF-like products. One of the main ideas we are trying to do this is because we think this is necessary for adoption for regular users and also for big companies with capital that want to start investing in crypto. So instead of going ahead and trying to buy single assets and rebalancing them yourself, you'll be able to invest in strategies and methodologies created by communities or even companies. We also have an impact thesis with our protocol. We are developing an open source tool with a couple of partners in the ecosystem like Cardano for Climate and Sustainable ADA for us to really be able to measure impact and provide the metrics on the platform. Why I'm going to talk about now why we are doing a DAO behind this product, which is what we're trying to talk about today. We have gone back and think about traditional finances and how they are innovating, and basically they are not. They keep having this philosophy of making the rich richer in a company structure where dividends are only paid to private stakeholders, where there's a ton of friction costs that don't allow the money to flow down to the employees and the people surrounding the companies, because all of this is centralized. We want to create a platform, an asset management platform governed by a DAO, where users will be rewarded by the assets under management of the platform. They can go ahead and sell that token in a secondary market, which will create value. And also the people who want to be managers of portfolios and create their own strategies can make a business out of it because they will be receiving part of the fees created for the assets under management. One of the key features and one of the main ideas we have surrounding our DAO is that, well, we are building in Cardano. We really think this is a blockchain for good and a blockchain for impact. And in some way, we want to incentivize people to put impact on front of return over investment. We know we can't do it a platform where only impact portfolios will be done. But what we've thought about is incentivizing those portfolios who are highly rated on the impact side and the treasury buying some of the tokens representing those portfolios. Also, going back to traditional finances, we want our community and the people that have decisions on the DAO to be able to vote on the amount of fees, what for the protocol, and maybe start thinking of a community where market makers are also involved and doing arbitrage in the platform. How does it work is that we'll have fees for influx of money and taking out money from the portfolio, also by rebalancing them. And some of these fees will go to the portfolio managers. Some would be given as rewards to the holders of the governance token. And we'll have this system that once a year or twice a year, we'll be buying back with the treasury. We'll be buying tokens of those portfolios who are really invested in impact. And we are excited to be here. We are actually working on developing with M Labs. Our next step in the roadmap was creating the DAO with them, but then we found out Clarity was making just what we needed, and now we're full on working with Clarity on making this a possibility. Thank you very much, and I'll answer your questions.
Thank you, Daniel. It's open to the panelists.
I'll go first, Daniel. That's a very intriguing idea, and I think it actually is one where you can see a DAO's benefits pretty clearly, because of the need, in traditional finance to run through institutions to try to get the same portfolio exposure. So how do you navigate the regulatory environment, briefly, that you're going to be running into?
As soon as I saw you, Chris, I knew you were going to ask about this. To be honest, regulation is one of our main pain points at the moment. It's pretty hard to talk about assets under management and being held by a DAO. We've had some experts in the crypto legal space talking to us about setting up in Bermuda as a fund that can work with crypto assets. But to be honest, I don't think I'm the best person to answer that question, but for sure is one of our main concerns at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. And nobody knows the right answer, so don't feel bad. Right? We're all pushing the edge on existing law structures and testing them out. So the second question on the token, if the token is just to receive a dividend off of profits from the use of the portfolio, or is there some other, and for governance, does it have any other role in your ecosystem?
At the moment, we only have those functions, receiving dividends that shouldn't be called dividends for legal purposes, rewards from the assets under management, and also voting upon which fees and how many fees we should have on the protocol. I think as we grow and the community grows, maybe we can start giving more utility to the governance tokens. But to be honest, we want this to be grown by the community. When we think about traditional finances, we don't want our interest to be put in front of the product. So let's see what happens with the DAO.
Yeah, well, you're touching on the right issues, because that structure lacks utility that will slide it out from under the SEC's guidance of what's a security or not. So, but it sounds like you guys are working through it. So anyway, nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll go ahead next if no one else wants to jump in. On the impact piece, who defines what impact is? Is that the portfolio manager, the community, or the actual portfolio company? And who is responsible for measuring and reporting on that impact? Is it the company itself or the portfolio manager? How does that process work?
Okay, so at first we were working on a framework where we were measuring the impact, and it was kind of centralized. We realized that wasn't the way to go ahead. So as of now, we are working with 3 more companies in the space to create an open source tool that will provide those metrics into our platform. So all of the portfolios in the platform will be rated by that open source tool, impact measurement tool. and they will be published on IPFS, the reports. And there's a lot of difficulties when you talk about how to measure impact. That's one thing. We are working very closely with a company called Green Crypto Research. We are just they are an ESG rating company that rate assets outside of Cardano in the crypto world, and we'll be creating this framework in the next upcoming months.
Cool. That's actually like super exciting. I can't wait to see that. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I can ask one quick question. Just curious, how would you, let's say that hopefully there's more NFTs sold and it gets to about, was it 15,000, Logan? ADA, what would you, what would be one of your first use cases for the funds?
One of our use cases definitely would go towards setting up a company outside of Mexico and getting the right legal structure for us to be able to work with that. Because it's really tricky when you talk about receiving money from other people and holding them into a vault. So that's one of our main concerns. And to be honest, it's pretty expensive to do this kind of stuff. So yeah.
Which country do you see the most demand for this?
Demand or the most useful for us to set up the company?
Or yeah, I guess the latter of the question.
At the moment, we've received the opinion of Bermuda, so that will probably be it.
Awesome. I will hold for 15 seconds, see if anyone else has a last question. And if not, we'll move on to DAO. Okay. It is my pleasure to introduce Curtis and DAO. Curtis, the floor is yours for the next 5 or so minutes.
Thank you, sir. Let me share my screen. All right. So glad to see such amazing projects ahead of us, and this competition shows the amount of people willing to make a difference. I am proud to be part of this community. We have spent majority of our time in the research and theory stage, such that we haven't developed enough documentation to really express the concept clearly. And for that, I apologize. DAO is an infrastructure model that is supported and expanded by the needs of the community. Digital Arc Pool is a Cardano stake pool owned by Digital Arc Services, LLC, established in 2020 and located in Houston, Texas. Digital Arc Services hosts the DAO. Inside the LLC is the start of a series of DAOs and DISCOs. In this pitch competition, we are representing the infrastructure model DAO. Digital Arc is working on efforts towards our mission statement, some exciting projects like charity NFT collections and an education platform and a bridge for businesses to solutions. We have been researching how we can get more involved in the larger community, such as alliances and some ISPO efforts towards global impact, and charity foundations getting on chain, like what Asmera and Charity is doing. This is so that we can stay apprised to the needs of the community and delegate where most valuable. We currently try to integrate the 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, to help direct the initiatives that we implement. This will continue to be used as a metric in our mission, including integrating Ikigai methodologies into our processes. We are passionate and excited to be here. Cloud architecture has become so convenient these days that it is hard to deny that this is a service we all need. As a cloud engineer myself, I am aware of the utility of it. As a customer, I am aware that they don't represent the community's interests. Decentralization of infrastructure has been one of the amazing outcomes of blockchain technology. The fact that anyone with the proper resources can support a network of users, where all parties benefit from it. But even a decentralized ecosystem is not immune to centralized entities, and neither should it. but with proper behavioral motivation mechanisms, it can be used for the good of the community. Many of you observe firsthand the differences in opinions on single stake pool operators and multi-stake pool operators. Anytime proper incentives are in place, a group will collect and operate as a central entity to better their odds. This is nature. I mean, think about the Neanderthals hunting in groups or wolves in packs. How can we leverage this opportunity to also represent the pack and fill the needs of the community? How would you go about operating a network, but base it on the ecosystem or on what the ecosystem needs most? Could you start by becoming a network operator and learning the systems of the ecosystem? Then listen to the community and developers on what services they need to make their user experience much more pleasant. What if that operator grew and needed to expand to maintain the balance of their community? If they became a multi-pool operator, would that be such a bad thing to consider the needs of their community? Now this operator has had a successful mission. They own multiple pools. The last question is, how can this operator represent the needs of the ecosystem when they have a community that they are responsible for and the interests of their business? With DAO, we plan to show how this can be done. We have started a roadmap that starts with leveraging our stake pool, then to support Dandelion node clusters. We look forward to supporting as many different branches of the Cardano ecosystem as possible. Hydra heads, Mamba sidechains, potentially Singularity Net sidechain, Cody node, and many more. The DAO will be responsible for the direction of the network support, and the revenue will be distributed to the token holders. A sustainable model is absolutely necessary. This will not be taken lightly and should not be rushed. And to utilize strategies of behavioral motivation mechanisms with incentivized network solutions and built with researched tokenomics. DAO will allow the community to help guide and govern how best to support the ecosystem, removing many of the concerns of centralized network operators. I have been enjoying participating in the Gimbal Labs Tokenomics Working Group, which has been an extremely useful resource, and learning from the token engineering course. We also have been in contact with the tokenomics engineer at World Mobile looking to gain insights. Our lack of documentation hopefully does not represent our lack of thought and foresight. I have seen in other DAOs I participate in where arriving at a decision and communication between the team and the community can be a long process. This has been known to stifle advancement. We propose to run cohorts within the DAO to navigate a specific topic of interest so that the community can get to a conclusion without the risk of spreading too thin. A topic can be introduced by the community and brought to the interested parties. A cohort can begin to conclude and implement the proposed outcome. Those interested parties could consist of DAO members, but equally important is to hear from the dApp developers and the DAOs on their needs. So we plan to also work towards an infrastructure alliance. Projects that have the biggest impact on the network can have a place to voice their needs to the community, and the topic can be discussed. We think this allows for a more homogeneous climate. Thank you for listening, and I'm excited to hear your questions.
Well done, Curtis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Over to the panelists. We got 4 minutes left in this bout.
Well, I keep going first, so I guess I'll keep my streak alive. Thanks, Curtis. You know, as you said at the outset, it is kind of hard to get a toehold on your concept because it's broad, right? And I'm still trying to think of what, you know, other than a group making decisions with its resources, you know, what is the overarching concept? What are you trying to tie together? What existing Web 2 concepts are you trying to tie into a Web 3 version? I guess if you could maybe restate it.
Sure. So, you know, when you go into platforms, you know, say Google Cloud or AWS, cloud providers that everybody's familiar with, you're sort of trapped within what services and offerings that they have.
Yeah,
whereas on
sure. Yeah.
Whereas on Web3, we see this decentralization opportunity, but that does present a new problem, right? Where single stake pool operators tend to grow and then they become more monolithic, very much like what we're used to. So there's a limitation there. And I feel like with what we're doing is bringing some of those larger projects along with the community to get a vision of what does this ecosystem need most. Do we need dandelion node clusters to serve up, scripts? Do we need headless dApps? Do we need a Hydra head to support maybe some, layer 2 solution? It's kind of getting an observation of what the ecosystem is and what it needs, and that's sort of part of the alliance, is to bring that forward and then allow the community to direct the priorities of those needs.
Okay, so you're addressing the consolidation challenge that Ethereum had after the merge, for example? Is that
that's one of them we'd like to address.
Okay. And so would the DAO create spin up its own its node cluster to start to compete with the existing environment and just do it with a decentralized backing? Is that correct?
So right now we have a stake pool, and I'm working on deploying dandelion node clusters. So once we have at least a base and a foundation that's generating some revenue, the point is to sort of get that out into the public, and then we are in a sense crowdfunding. We need money just to buy World Mobile Earth nodes. We need money to continue to support this network because there is an upfront cost. So part of this, the DAO token itself, is to fund that initiative, and then once it starts generating revenue, that goes into a treasury, and then there's revenue share split between there. But there needs to be money to really support this infrastructure.
Sure, I totally. I would just say, it's pretty impossible to sell tokens in the U.S. and most of the West directly to raise funds as a first step. So you might have to spin up your node cluster and then sell it to a bunch of people who want to buy it with a DAO backing. But yeah, okay. Well, thanks for elaborating on that for me. It's very interesting.
Colin, go ahead, and then this will be the last question for this round.
Cool. So given the order of the roadmap you'd shown, like there's a lot of good work and thought into tokenomics and the structure of it from like a financial standpoint. Do you have a threshold in your mind, or is it just an open conversation internally about how long you can go building out the tokenomics side versus like exposing a bit of utility, like doing a V0 that does a little something, like for regulatory reasons and also just to maintain that balance?
So let me just kind of clarify the question. You're saying introduce utility to keep them on board before the revenue share model is?
Yeah, I guess like how do you reason about the interplay or the balance or the context switching for the project between like being a really solid token that exists and having like a community of token holders or future token holders, and like, having a front end exposed that like does something. I guess I couldn't quite find, an explicit.
Sure. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, can they interact with our dApp? We do have some ideas on staking those tokens, to get increased interest from the rewards themselves. But this DAO itself, as kind of mentioned earlier, is not the entire purpose of Digital Arc. We are building out an education platform and a bounty board to sort of build this ecosystem. And I think a lot of them will interlace. The token itself will be interchangeable throughout the rest of our ecosystem. So there's going to be a lot of other interactivity and front end through the rest of Digital Arc. This one is really just supporting the infrastructure and the network of Cardano. So there might be some staking opportunities. There might be some NFTs for fundraising to an extent. To get extra distribution, but for the most part, no, unfortunately, this isn't, I feel like, the application that has a whole lot of interactivity.
Got it. I think, and this has been true for maybe everyone so far, like there are 2 good ideas, or more, or 16 from some of the other participants, and the through line, right? Like why a DAO? So that was in there. But I guess just for your project, for future comms, because we'll all be following along, I guess like really hand holding us by establishing that through line. So this first piece here, this DAO, what you just described, and the funding needs for future infrastructure, and then like, what does it get me? So the V0 of the education portal, or whatever the case is, that's the roadmap, I guess, that has been tough to glean from everybody. Everyone has like a massive roadmap, but it's hard to, the head of it isn't super clear. So I'm excited to see more on that. Thanks.
I appreciate that feedback. And you're right. We have 5 different pitch versions, and the audience is sort of what we cater to. So we do have a VC pitch that's very much, here's your rewards. Here's how much money you get. This one, we were just trying to get more of what is our DAO, but I appreciate that feedback, and I'll keep that in mind, that everybody probably wants to hear what is the direct result and outcome for this DAO.
Well, thank you, Curtis, and thank you, DAO. In the spirit of trying to keep this pitch competition a reasonable amount of time, we will move on to Litmus DAO. Excited to see your guys' pitch.
Yeah, hey guys. Because we didn't really know who could attend, we made a video out of our presentation, but we are here for any questions afterward. So I can play that now. Just a sec. So you should see it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Here we go.
Good morning or good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Alex, and we are excited to present Litmus DAO. I am joined by my 2 partners here, CryptoPause.
Hi.
And Ryder in Red.
Hello.
All right, let's go ahead and take a journey into what Litmus DAO is and what it's going to accomplish. Next up, we have our overview. Here, we're going to guide you through the process of this presentation. First, what is Litmus DAO? Why is it feasible? The different packages that we're going to offer off the bat, and some closing thoughts. We'll expand more on these as we progress. Let's continue.
So what is Litmus DAO? We really thought about what the ecosystem and the users who are in this space and the projects could really benefit from. And what came to mind was feedback from power users for projects that are still growing or even already are successful. So we sat together and thought of a way power users of the space could give structured feedback to projects they like. This is a way for projects to cover their blind spots. And what makes it feasible is that basically everyone has something to say of their favorite project. And for the project, it is an upside to get this specific information that power users or users of theirs have. So it's a win-win.
The next point is the different packages we came up with, what we can offer to DAOs. Here we came up with 3 different packages. The first is a very basic package where we are only looking at the main points where your users interact with your project, like your website, Twitter, and Discord. And we are hosting a quick AMA to present yourself to the community and to get a conversation started, not only in detail. In the gold level, we are expanding on this, and we are looking at your bespoke user journey process. So, in case if you have a DApp, we're also looking what does the user journey look like from your website or from your Twitter to the DApp. And if you're in the DApp and you want to go back to your Discord, for example, how does this process look like? Is it an easy process? Is it an enjoyable process for the user? One thing we are particularly proud of is that we invite you to join the process of the gathering of this feedback. Before the final write-up, you can come in and ask questions, directed questions that you maybe had in your team to the people who are testing it. And you can directly get a conversation flowing and really cut down on the time to implement. Because you don't have to wait, you can jump directly in and say, hey, I got this question, I thought of a feature. My dev told me that this would be a cool feature. What do you guys think? Is this really cool? In our final level, the platinum level, we are expanding on the basic AMA, and there we are going to have a deep dive. And also what the deep dive is about is that our community, everybody who gets involved, will be try to poke holes into the big processes of your project and improving it this way, and giving you new ideas for features and directions. Furthermore, we are going to do a structured write-up of the whole feedback process and what we gathered, and also about the learnings and the improvements that can be done, and publish this as an article. And the final feature we are going to offer is that we're going to have a follow-up after 2 months on everything we talked about and see how things changed. Maybe, hopefully, they did improve. And maybe there's something else that came up, or there were new features added since we last looked at it. And now we are in a different situation.
I wanted to bring us back here and kind of highlight some upsides and closing thoughts from the presentation as a whole. First was the practicality. We know what works. We know what people can contribute to this project and help it grow. The other aspect was scalability. That was extremely important, especially in the DAO infrastructure. We wanted to be able to let users join and help along the process because they would be able to act as both helpers and identify projects that would be useful for the service that we are providing. This is something we know that works and is easily transitionable from Web 2 to Web 3, and 100% is needed in the space as we know it, especially as it continues to mature. Lastly was the low barrier of entry, both for projects, the community of the projects, and those that would be joining Litmus DAO. It was extremely important that we maintain this low barrier of entry, and we feel like something like feedback is something that everyone can contribute to and enjoy on both sides. Pause. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, sure. For me, it's really fun trip so far, and I'm especially enjoying that everyone who wants to get involved can be involved in some way or another. So if you are someone who is a heavy user or who loves projects and wants to give feedback to them, you can with Litmus DAO. And if you're a project that is working on new features and you're not sure what your community wants, you can use our services to find out.
What about you, Ryder? Was there anything that you had wanted to add on to what we have mentioned here?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this project because it's right along the spirit of Web3 as I see it. Because the whole idea of Web3 and especially NFTs is that you are not just an user, you are an owner. You have ownership of a product that you use and you love. And we are going to take that further because even if you're an owner, if you have ownership, there are still many others and your voice kind of gets lost and it's hard for a project to follow up on that. And there's where we come in. We make this voice more structured, give it meaning, and make it for the communities easier to get heard and for the projects also easy to implement this feedback.
Yeah, and in closing, if you want to talk, let's talk. Here's my Twitter, Telegram, and email. You can also find me on Discord.
So I will cut it short here because of the time, because it's like you have now the opportunity to talk to us directly. And the guy who was talking with us is our partner, Alex. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Go ahead, Colin.
Cool. So the product is super clear. The DAO element is so is it that the end user, like not the not the B2B side, but the users, do they have to be DAO members? Like V0 of this project, what is it doing to leverage the DAO structure?
Yes, basically the idea that we have is that you need to become a DAO member in order to give this structured feedback. And what we also strive for is to like find out, or not only find out, but achieve a really decentralized way in doing stuff. And we want to show that it is possible today to do it in a really decentralized manner. And the DAO idea is basically, that you join the DAO, you become someone who can potentially give feedback and thereby get some rewards for giving this feedback on a specific project. And as long as you're a part of the DAO, you can do that.
Awesome. I had a quick comment. So the way I kind of understand this is it's kind of a decentralized consultancy. So other, Web3 projects would come to you guys because you guys could help with, whatever your main skill sets are. So that's my first question is, what are the main things that projects can come to Litmus DAO to get your, professional opinion on? And then also, do you have any plans to kind of integrate reputation? So say you're kind of a DAO of consultants. If I'm totally messing this up, let me know. But each of these consultants could, in theory, build up their reputation so that when projects come to you guys, they know, oh, wow, Litmus DAO has like 5 people that have a good track record of, helping projects grow their communities. So kind of how are you thinking about those two things?
Do you want, Ryder, or should I?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and we also thought about reputation, and we have some ideas on how we want to implement it. Because what you mentioned, it's really important that you can differentiate between people who are giving valuable feedback and people who are just there to like come along and maybe get some tokens out of it. So that is definitely something we want to integrate, and we are looking for ways of doing it. And initially, when we first talked to you, we also told you about the idea of creating a bounty for projects that basically serves the purpose to like involve the community with the process of getting that feedback. And obviously, the quality of feedback is not something we can say, we can't know whether it's good quality feedback right from the start. It highly depends on the people who are giving the feedback, and that's why it's important for us to like start with some funds in order to bootstrap everything, so we can get people involved who also value their time. So basically power users. But after that, it's, as we think, a highly scalable solution, because you can onboard more people, and while you're onboarding more people, you can serve or give feedback to more projects, and you can scale it that way.
Yeah, maybe to add on to that, the way we want to look at reputation is not like we make this small inner circle of highly reputable individuals, but more on a case-to-case basis. So if you did good feedback in this project, then you earn something and you get rewarded. But it's not like we don't want any inner barriers inside the DAO. We want to do this by competence.
Yeah, and it basically comes down how we manage to do something like attestations, because feedback is something that is highly subjective, of course, and we also need, or what we did is also get the feedback from the projects, basically, and they like could vote up and down what feedback was more important than others. So like their top 3 feedback comments or feature requests or something like that.
Makes sense. Colin, you have your hand up. Go ahead. And then after this, unless there's any burning comments that need to be made, we'll wrap it up.
Cool. Forgive me if it was mentioned and I missed it, but DIDs, right? So to game it out, it's like feedback rewards means that like someone will just game the system immediately, right? Like spam you with impressions of feedback to collect the rewards. And then a reputation system will be gamed by a similar mechanism. So I wonder, maybe I'm missing, maybe there's a mechanism that doesn't require DIDs, or maybe DIDs are on your roadmap anyway to mitigate some of that.
Yeah, it's we couldn't touch on that because of the time constraints, but we have devised a way to like there is a manual process involved in the feedback mechanism. So we have several roles in our DAO. So it's like two parts. The feedback part would be 70% of the rewards we're getting, or the bounty, and the management part would be 30%. And feedback entails evaluation and writing up of the document and such, and also having being part of this feedback process. And the management part, the 30%, would be split up between marketing, payout calculation, management distribution, and other things that we need to account for. So the payout calculation, whoever does this can't take part in the feedback process itself, and he or she would evaluate the feedback that is given. And if someone spams the feedback, he would be excluded from the project or from the feedback round. But good question, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you to all of the panelists for taking the time out of their day to provide feedback, and thank you to all the projects for presenting. That will do it for round 1, session 3 in the first ever Clarity DAO pitch competition. And again, thank you everyone for coming. And I will be hopping on a Twitter space in about 50 minutes if anyone is interested, just to reflect on the pitches that have happened, chat about anything, but no solid plan for the Twitter space, just kind of creating an open dialogue for the community to chat. Thank you guys again, and I'm going to stop the recording now.